Anybody have questions?
But it's based on a true story, right?
Yes.
But it's loosely based on a true story.
Yes. It's memoir-esque, is what I like to say. When I pitched the novel to an agent at the Writers' Conference in Austin, he was very interested and did in fact ask to see the book, took it for too long and then decided not to represent me. But he leaned forward and said, "And why is this not memoir?" And I said, "Because there are people in the story who do not exist and events that happened in the story that did not happen, so it's fiction." The reason I really kind of got halfway through writing what I thought might be a memoir and then decided to write fiction is because I personally got stuck emotionally with decisions that I would have to make as a writer about which way the story was going to go. If I was going to go with the truth, then what was the truth? And did I have to take action as a writer, as a person writing this story as a memoir as the truth? Did I then have to follow that path? And it took me, I don't know how long. I might have taken a year break in the middle of the writing just because I couldn't make up my mind. And finally, when I decided that it was my book, it was my story, and that I could write it the way I wanted to write it, and that was that I could make the ending be whatever the ending was going to be in my imagination, it was the most liberating decision. So that's when I decided fiction. So you might be guessing by what I'm telling you that the way the book plays out and the decisions Bette finally makes about how to navigate her marriage are not necessarily the decisions I personally have made.
Do you think you'll write a sequel?
You know, I have a good friend who read this book and she said, "You need to write what happens next after she makes all these changes in her life." And so you're the second person who's been interested in something like that. I did start a second novel and I have about 5 chapters in. But it's not, I mean, the character's name is not Bette, so forth and so on. And you know, it has, but it could be the sequel. I mean, because all I would have to do would be change characters' names and manipulate, it's my story, right? Manipulate it any way I want to. That's truly fiction, those 5 chapters. And I've been asking myself the question, why can't I return to that? Because it's been several years since I started it. So that's an interesting possibility for that story that might make it even more appealing to me to go back to. But I did not have that plan when I finished this. It was like, okay, that's done. So thank you for that question.
How long did the entire process take to write the book if you took a year off?
Oh, that's a good question. You won't believe it.
A lifetime of labor?
Okay, let me say this. When I was at I went to the Texas Writers League conference for agents and writers twice with the same book, pitching. And at the second conference, I did a how to pitch your novel pre-conference workshop. And they went around the room, and the agent who was at the table was asking, "You go ahead and just give your pitch right now." So there were about 50 people in the room pitching their novels, and I started out by saying, "Well, I never thought I would write a novel," and he said, "Don't say that." And I said, "Well, okay." And he goes, "No, we want to know that our novelists, whoever we decide to agent, are going to write a novel every year for the next 10 years so that we make that's how we make our living. So don't say that." And I'm like, for rewind, never mind. I always knew I was going to write a novel. I just didn't know what it was going to be about until this happened. So the reason I bring that up is because it took me 10 years to write this book. From the time the event occurred, that happens in the very first chapter that lets you know what the mistakes were that George made that brought us to go get him, to the resolution of finally finishing the book, taking that break and finishing the fiction was 10 years. You can't take that long. I don't have that long.
And that's probably easier, probably.
Eugenides does one every 10 years.
Well, Awesome. Okay.
Indeed.
And what was her name? Harper Lee?
Yeah.
One every 40 years.
Yeah.
However long. One of the best novelists of all time. Thank you.
What are you writing on now?
Well, the main focus I have right now, or have had for the last period of time, is a couple manuscripts of poetry. One finished, that's under submission, one almost finished. And so that's been my real focus. Thank you. And a blog, and life, and family, more family. There's plenty of water. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow, what a great couple of readers